Imagine a day like any other. The city is waking up, people are heading to work, and the world seems to be in its usual rhythm. The sun rises, casting a golden hue over the quiet suburb. Birds tweet, welcoming the new day with their cheerful songs. You reach for your phone, expecting the usual flood of notifications. But something's off. There's no notification glow, no newsfeed to scroll. The screen is eerily blank. You try the Wi-Fi, but it's a cold, dead signal. The router's lights are dark, unblinking. You reset it, but nothing changes. Across town, cities sputter and stall. Traffic lights go dark, causing confusion and chaos on the roads. Cars are stalled, drivers bewildered. Airports grind to a halt. Flights are grounded, terminals empty. The usual hustle and bustle is replaced by an eerie silence. Hospitals scramble, cut off from vital records. Doctors and nurses revert to paper records, trying to piece together patient histories. The internet, the sprawling network we've woven our lives into, has gone dark. Server rooms are filled with blinking red error lights, a silent testament to the failure. This isn't some dystopian fantasy. It's a stark reality that we could face. It's a chilling possibility, a single point of failure away from becoming reality. The fragility of our digital world laid bare. We've built a world dependent on the ethereal flow of data. Offices hum with the sound of keyboards and servers, data cables snaking through every corner. But what happens when that flow stops? When the screens go dark and the Ethernet cables are unplugged? When the invisible hand of the internet vanishes, what's left in its wake? Confusion, uncertainty, and a sense of loss. The initial shock would be profound. Offices would fall silent, streets would empty as people try to comprehend the magnitude of the outage. A global collective gasp as billions realize the magnitude of the outage. People gather in public squares, sharing their disbelief and confusion. Panic would ripple through the streets, a silent wave of disbelief and fear, the digital umbilical cord that connected us all, severed. We've become so accustomed to instant information, to the digital umbilical cord connecting us, that its severance would feel like an amputation. The world would be plunged into a state of digital darkness, a stark reminder of our dependence on the internet. Communication would revert to older methods. People would try to make phone calls, only to find the lines jammed. Handwritten letters might make a comeback, a slow and cumbersome way to stay in touch. In homes, families might rediscover old pastimes. Board games, books, and face-to-face conversations would fill the void left by the digital blackout. Local economies would see a resurgence. Farmers markets and local businesses would become the new hubs of activity. As global supply chains falter, communities would come together, helping each other in ways we've forgotten. The internet's absence would force us to reconnect in the physical world. And as the sun rises on this new reality, we'd adapt. Humanity has always found a way to survive and thrive, even in the face of adversity. The day the web went dark would be no different. While a total internet collapse remains, thankfully hypothetical, we've had glimpses of this digital doomsday. These glimpses, though brief, have been enough to remind us of the precarious balance we maintain in our digital age. Remember the Y2K scare? The world held its breath, bracing for technological chaos as the clock ticked over to the year 2000. It was a moment of collective anxiety, a global pause as we waited to see if our digital infrastructure would hold. Thankfully, disaster was averted, but the fear was real, a stark reminder of our reliance on systems we barely understood. IT professionals worked tirelessly behind the scenes, their efforts largely unsung to ensure that the transition was smooth. The relief was palpable, but the incident left a lasting impression on our collective consciousness. More recently, the 2024 CrowdStrike outage offered a chilling preview of what a targeted attack could achieve. It was a wake-up call, a stark illustration of how vulnerable our interconnected systems can be to malicious intent. A single software glitch crippled businesses, airlines, even emergency services. The ripple effects were felt far and wide, disrupting daily life and highlighting the critical role that digital infrastructure plays in our modern world. The internet didn't go entirely dark, but the flicker was enough to send shivers down the spines of millions. It was a stark reminder of how much we depend on a stable and secure internet connection for everything from communication to commerce. These incidents serve as warning flares, illuminating the fragility of our interconnected world. They remind us that while we have built incredible systems, they are not infallible. Each outage, each glitch, is a reminder of the delicate balance we must maintain. Sure, the internet has proven remarkably resilient, bouncing back from natural disasters and cyber attacks. The recovery efforts are often swift and efficient, a testament to the dedication and expertise of those who maintain our digital infrastructure. But the more complex it becomes, the more vulnerable it is to catastrophic failure. As we continue to innovate and expand our digital capabilities, we must also remain vigilant, constantly improving our defenses and preparing for the unexpected. The echoes of outages past serve as a sobering reminder of the challenges we face in our increasingly digital world. In the immediate aftermath of a global internet shutdown, the world would slam on the brakes. Imagine the sudden jolt as every digital connection we rely on daily is severed. The confusion and distress would be palpable as people stare at their screens waiting for a signal that never comes. Communication systems reliant on the web would go dark. The once busy server rooms, now silent and lifeless, would stand as eerie monuments to our dependence on the internet. Telecommunication equipment, usually buzzing with activity, would be reduced to mere hardware, devoid of purpose. No more instant messages, no video calls, no social media updates. The digital conversations that once connected us across continents would vanish, leaving a void in their place. Social media feeds, once bustling with activity, would become ghost towns with no new posts or updates. Families would be cut off, businesses paralyzed, governments thrown into disarray. The simple act of checking in on a loved one would become a challenge as traditional means of communication falter. Offices, once hives of activity, would be left with empty chairs and silent phones. Government operations, heavily reliant on digital infrastructure, would face unprecedented challenges. Imagine the stock market frozen in time, the digital ticker tape silenced. Investors who once relied on real-time data to make split-second decisions would be left in the dark, unable to react to market changes. The financial world, so deeply intertwined with the internet, would face a standstill. Global trade would grind to a halt, supply chains severed. Cargo ships, once the lifeblood of international commerce, would sit idle in ports. Warehouses filled with goods waiting to be shipped would become storage for products that may never reach their destinations. The intricate web of global trade, dependent on digital coordination, would unravel. Supermarkets, unable to process transactions or track inventory, would face empty shelves and panicked shoppers. The seamless process of restocking and purchasing goods would be disrupted, leading to shortages and chaos. Shoppers, accustomed to the convenience of digital transactions, would find themselves in long queues, hoping to secure basic necessities. The world as we know it, a symphony of data flowing at light speed, would become eerily quiet. Data centers, the backbone of our digital age, would stand empty and silent. The hum of servers, once a constant background noise, would be replaced by an unsettling stillness. The constant hum of the digital age would be replaced by an unsettling silence, a void where our hyper-connected world used to be. People would look out of their windows, contemplating a world that has suddenly become much larger and more isolated. The quiet cityscape, devoid of the usual electronic noise, would serve as a stark reminder of our reliance on the digital world. The business world, so deeply intertwined with the internet, would be among the hardest hit.
E-commerce, online banking, digital marketing, all gone in an instant. Companies that haven't diversified beyond the digital realm would face extinction.
Think about global corporations, their operations spanning continents reliant on constant communication. Without the internet, they'd be like ships adrift, unable to coordinate, to trade, to function.
Smaller businesses, the backbone of many economies, would also struggle to survive. The very nature of work would be forced to evolve.
Remote work, a cornerstone of the modern workforce, would become impossible. The daily grind would shift back to physical offices, a jarring transition for a generation raised on virtual meetings and cloud collaboration. The consequences for healthcare would be even more dire.
Hospitals rely on the internet for everything from patient records to critical diagnostic tools. Surgeries would be postponed, treatments delayed.
Imagine a world where doctors can't access medical databases, where life-saving information is trapped on inaccessible servers.
Telemedicine, a lifeline for rural communities and a burgeoning field in healthcare, would vanish overnight. Patients would be forced to travel, often great distances, for even basic medical care.
The internet shutdown wouldn't just inconvenience the healthcare system, it would cripple it. Lives would be lost, not just due to lack of access to information, but also because of the chaos and panic that would inevitably ensue. Remember snow days, those magical interruptions to the school year? Now imagine that, but indefinitely, and for everyone.
Without the internet, education as we know it would cease to exist. No more online classes, no virtual libraries, no access to a world of knowledge at our fingertips.
Universities, heavily reliant on online learning platforms and digital resources, would grind to a halt. Students would be sent home, their education put on hold.
The digital divide, already a significant issue, would become an insurmountable chasm. The internet has democratized knowledge, making information accessible to anyone with a connection.
An internet collapse would reverse that progress, pushing education back decades and disproportionately affecting those who rely on its accessibility the most.